It is 8:30 my time. We are just, well, I'm just waking up, sort of. Hubby and the boy are getting ready to begin work on the yard again. We're renovating our garden area. Well, actually, the whole yard. We're doing like the driveway and everything. So it's been very noisy here the last couple of days, and and already I can hear them chunking a bit of rock and stuff. Our driveway was all cobblestone, so we had to have the process of removing all of the stones, and then there were some cement slabs right down the middle, and we had to have a special team of guys come out and forklift those things out. But that's all done, so now they're having to work on flattening the ground, getting it all nice and level so that they can start putting in the new bricks. And I guess these are going to be the traditional, just flat and straight edged and everything to make it look a lot nice and neater. Because the cobblestone is nice, but it is like we had bits. I mean, it's been years since it was originally installed, so you could see like the tracks where the car would come in, and it just looked pretty tacky. Plus, a lot of the dirt and stuff has been kind of taking it, so it's burying half of it. It was just time for a facelift, so. But that got me to thinking about that and some other things, about how people like to kind of dress up their homes differently depending on the seasons of the year. I know a couple of relatives of mine that would like change out their plants even to kind of go with the seasons. They'd have, the portable ones in the little pots and things, and then they'd like rearrange them into different kind of configurations to kind of, I don't know, highlight the season. They bring certain colors out and things like that, and other stuff, like the little garden gnomes and things like that. And of course, do the same thing on the interior. My mother-in-law, she loves to decorate for every holiday. So like Easter, you expect a lot of egg-shaped, paraphernalia, just like all kinds of like egg tree and egg candles and all kinds of grassy with lots of pinks and pastels and everything. And while I do that for some holidays, mostly Christmas, I know that a lot of folks do that for all of the seasons and all of the holidays. So I thought it would be interesting. We've done an episode like this before, where we kind of talked about different ways of doing like birthday or anniversary cakes and gifts and things like that. But I thought it might be fun to kind of take a look at doing some custom-built seasonal decorations for the fall, since we're getting ready to come into that with September and October and November. We're not really going to focus on like Shades Eve Halloweenish type things. That will come later, I think. We'll probably discuss some of that, but this is mostly just for fall. And to give an example, we'll go ahead and visit one of my other alt spots. Excuse me. Got a really bad scratchy throat today. I tend to have that a lot, and I think it's just because I gab so much, but I will try to keep it to a minimum. Anyway, I said before that I had left some decor count free. I think I left about 80 pieces to allow for extra decoration that I might be inspired to include in this particular build. Specifically, I wanted to leave at least a little bit of room for some kind of seasonal decoration. And while I didn't stream me making this, I did kind of go over all of the parts that were used in making it. it's a really simple design. Whenever you're wanting to make a wreath, it's good to have a guide just so that you get the circle kind of, you know, pretty close to the way you want. Let's see. Doesn't like you switching homes. So for this one, for the ribbon, we just used the blockless cheese wedges. You could probably use some of the curtains and things like that, but the main problem I had here was, of course, the walls are pretty thin, so I was having trouble with a lot of things poking out the back. And for other homes, that wouldn't be the case, especially like a pre-built home. If you're hanging something on the wall, you have the luxury of being able to tuck in things into the wall and not really have too much concern about it poking out in certain instances. Same way with, like, if you're going to decorate the front porch area, you can sink that into the house and you're not going to have to worry about it showing up on the inside. But here we were kind of limited on certain things that I was able to use. But for the main wreath part, we used the golden wheatgrass. And what I did was I took a dome, I think it was a hollow dome piece, and I sized it down to where I wanted it and positioned it so it was kind of in the center of this panel here. And I used the edge of it. Let me see if I can show you what I'm talking about. For those that may not be familiar with what I'm trying to explain. Oh, come on. I guess I'm standing too close. Oh, okay, never mind. The decor limit's been reached. That's right. That would be why I can't place it, believe me. Anyway, it's the rim of it, you just kind of sink it in so you just see the line, the circle line. And I sized it and positioned it, and then I just used that as my guide. Kind of like we did with the original building plan. I laid out a floor plan on the ground and then just kind of built up from there. Same principle. It's very easy, and it's a good way to kind of make sure you get the shape that you're wanting. That's true for anything that you're trying to do, like if the specific garland and you want to kind of snake it. Sometimes folks are really good at just kind of freehanding that kind of thing, but for me, I prefer a guide of some sort. But we used the golden wheatgrass for the main body of the wreath, and then I added little accents using the orange floral fence posts, mostly because I wanted a few acorns hidden around in there. Because again, you know, when you're looking for fall types of themes, you're going to go with colors like yellow, orange, browns, reds, and maybe some pinkish bits, but not a whole lot. You don't want to go too pastel-y. It's more natural colors, because, you know, that's when, you know, the grass is kind of starting to turn and got your leaves are turning and falling off, and you want to focus on those colors. Good. So you'll see a little bits of blue and things, but that's just because that's part of the orange floral fence post. If I could have found something a little bit more brownish and things, I probably would have used that, but I definitely wanted to add in the acorns. Of course, it's one of those details that, you know, unless someone's really noticing, looking up close, they're not going to spot it right off. Anyway, those are the colors that I was aiming for. That's why I went ahead and went with the cheese for the bow, because it's a nice yellow color. I did flip it over at first to kind of see, so it wouldn't have those holes. The problem with that is the color of it is, whoops, I did the wrong thing there. There we go. The problem with that is the color is pretty dark, and it didn't show up like I was wanting. So I just decided to leave it so that the cheese holes were showing. I thought, well, maybe, you know, some kind of like little polka dotted pattern on the ribbon. And of course, pumpkins. You know, fall is often represented with pumpkins and other types of gourds, which we don't really have those too much at our disposal. There are some on the, I think it's is it the trellis? Yeah, the small fruit trellis. You could get a few gourds that way if you are looking for some extra kind of fall looking kind of fruit and foliage. But the only awkward thing with that is, of course, the sticks. So it depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you're going to use it for a wreath, then the trellis probably won't work very well. Unless you have a way of sinking most of it into the wall and just having the one fruit piece showing, that might work. But like I said, it's just the golden wheatgrass, the fence posts. If I can get one to select there. It's always so tricky. There we go. I think it's a couple of big ones here, and then a couple of small ones on the side at the bottom. And then we've just got 3 pumpkins. It's the same pumpkin, I just resized them a little bit. I didn't want them all being the same, so we got a large, medium, and a small. And of course I turned them a little bit. The only thing about these pumpkins is you do have that long bit of root stem thing coming out that you have to kind of contend with. So there is a, I think it's a group of pumpkins, yeah, that you could use instead of individually placing them. They are easier to come by because they come straight off the housing vendor. These individual ones, they come from the garbage dump housing challenge. It's got the big pile of trash, and it's a really easy one to do. You just kind of click on it, and then you kill the little critter that comes out, and then you get X amount of trash or debris or something. And as soon as you collect enough, then you get a chance to roll for the pumpkin. But this is definitely, if you're looking for like a centerpiece or something for your table, definitely consider grabbing the pumpkin group just to save you not only decor count, but just the trouble of having to grind the pumpkins from that particular housing challenge. Okay, so let's go back to other plot. Yeah, turnips plot is basically 1,000 of 1,000. I think it's I added a lot of little extras. I just tried to push it to the limit to figure out what can I add. Now, normally I would go ahead and see about adding something out here, but it's so dark I just figured it's better to go inside. I already have a hovering lamp to light our way. And what I'm going to do is, this is a remnants from a past DVD, so I'm just going to get rid of all these bits. Now, the reason I don't do a crate all kind of thing is I don't want to get rid of the stuff that's outside, and I'm not entirely confident that it remembers to separate the two. I think it considers the whole inside and out as one thing, so when you say crate all, it gets rid of everything. I really don't want to do that. We'll just do it piece by piece. I had intended to come in earlier and do this, but I got sidetracked with some other things. So anyway, when I started to think about how we could approach this little, I don't know, how-to class or whatever you want to call it, I tried to think about what types of decorations folks typically use, and I'm talking in real life. That's, this is a reflection of what we would do in real life as far as decorating. So that's definitely, a place to start when you're thinking about decorations for your own home. It's like when you go to decorate a kitchen, you start thinking, well, what belongs in the kitchen? Well, look around your own kitchen and you see the different appliances you have, the microwave, the mixer, the blender, the toaster, uh, the dishwasher, things like that. It's like a lot of people, when they do their kitchen, they'll have the sink and everything, but they don't always think about adding the little dry rack. And those are just little things that help bring your your little custom build, you know, to life when you add those extra little details. So when it comes to seasonal decorations, it's the same thing. You look at what you would normally put out, what you see others put out, you know. So wreaths is like the number one because you see those hanging on doors, on walls, above the fireplace. And along with wreaths, you have garlands. Garlands aren't just for Christmas. You can have fall-themed garlands. And you know, Easter-themed ones, that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of pieces. So you take inspiration from what you do or you see other people do in real life, and then you try to apply those ideas to what you want to create in the game. Now, granted, a lot of the little crafty things you see people put together, or maybe you put together yourself, uses materials we just don't have access to. It's not like we can change the color of the pumpkins or easily give them patterns. Like I've seen some paint their pumpkins with stripes or polka dots or little flower designs and things. It's probably possible, but it's incredibly tedious and probably not efficient, as far as you would have to use like lots of pieces to try and pull that off. Something similar to this, you know, the sculpture here was doable, but it took a lot of pieces to try and, you know, even get it close to recognizable as a person. So I can imagine trying to do little details that for like a pumpkin, you know, giving it some flowers or something, that might be kind of weird. So what I tried to do was look up or brainstorm ideas for types of decorations that we could easily make without too much trouble. The main trouble is with the pumpkins. Like I said, if you're going to go with the single ones, you are going to have to either purchase them off the AH or spend some time grinding. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go ahead and do this particular little blip here now before we really get into the season. That way, if you think you might want to add these kind of things, these little details to your home, you have time to, you know, work on collecting them from the challenge yourself rather than relying completely on the AA. So first thing, we've shown one example of a wreath. We could probably get into building another one. I may do that here later, depending on how long I'm taking with the other stuff. But garlands are okay too. If you don't want to do the round wreath, you can just do a string of grassy bits and make a garland. Now, a lot of times a garland, a lot of people think it's the one that's kind of like draped with little dips. You could do it that way, but you can just do a straight one. You know, if you have, like, say, the top of a fireplace or something, and you just want something for the top of the mantle, you just do a straight one. And of course, the grasses that you would use would be like, again, you'd want to go for shades of brown and yellow and things like that. Now, let's see. I'm not going to get too much into like the Christmas season, but if you're doing garlands and stuff for that holiday, you would go more with the fresh greens. And the fallen, I think it's the fallen Algarock pine, is a good green one. It doesn't have the brown trunk with it. I think it's yeah, fallen Algarock pine. It doesn't have the trunk on it. It is a little awkward to deal with, but if you tweak it, you know, slant it this way and that, and size it the way you want, you can get a nice garland kind of thing going on with that if you just want to use as few pieces as possible. But you don't have to use the trees. You can use just grasses as well. We've got a lot of greeny kind of clumps. For instance, well, bushes and shrubbery are good. The leafy bramble's a good green one, but that's more into a different holiday. So for yellows and browns, the Ven thorn bushes would probably be okay. You could probably get away with using some of this with the yellow flowers and things if you can sink it in and have, you know, not have it look too weird. Just looking to see what all that we've got available, because there's a lot of things that are one-offs from like random drops or dungeon drops that you could probably do. And of course, I'm not really going to be crafting anything for this. So I'm just looking to see what we got on the vendor here. Yeah, the golden wheatgrass is usually my go-to thing. The Algarock grass, it's yellow, but it's also got green, and it's kind of a weird shape. So if you're wanting to make, you know, something kind of without weird stuff poking out, it might be a little awkward. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up, I don't think I have any oops, fireplaces. I don't even know if that's in the cookware barware. Fire pit, chimney, fireplace. Oh, that's lucky. It's not quite the fireplace I'm thinking of, but we'll just put it in here. Turn it around. Because I need a bit of an example here. We're going to pretend this is the top of a fireplace so that we have a mantle to work with. Okay, so let's just make sure it's level. There we go. Okay, so that's our mantle, our open hearth mantle kind of thing. So let's say you want to put a kind of a holiday garland there for the fall. So we're going to just try and put something together here. And I'm just going to create a bunch of these and start plopping them down here. And the very first is I want the end to be kind of fluffy. I don't want it to be the flat one. And of course I want it to be kind of small. I don't want it to take up the entire thing. You could if you wanted, but for me, I prefer to just leave it be. And then let's get out. That is easy little clone tool. And then I'm just going to extend it this way. Now again, you could probably do like this difference average thing to get it to be spaced just so, but I'm going to eyeball it mostly for my own sake. You'll notice I'm alternating how I'm putting these in. And later I will be twirling these a little bit in different places just so that it doesn't look like a repeated pattern kind of effect. But if you notice, because one end is a little darker and the other, it gives it, you know, a lot of little variation of color. You don't have the same bits together. I don't know, it's weird little things like that that I pay attention to. It's not like it's required, you don't have to do it that way, but and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go straight across the top of this fake faux fireplace here. I didn't even pay attention to whether or not this was actually straight, so it's probably not going to be lined up exact, but that's all right. I feel like this could probably come out to the front a little bit. I'm trying to select the right one. Almost to the end, and basically you want to make sure you stop with it with the flat end on the inside at the end here, and we'll know better about how we want to do that if we notice that we're kind of close to the edge, but we don't want to put an extra one in. It looks like it's going to work out about right. Okay, so something like that. I'm going to extend this out a little. And then I'm going to start twirling these. This gets a little difference in the way the grass is laying. I'm not going to twirl all of them, just some of them. So something like that. You can get fancier and a little bit more detailed. The way I do the add-ons is I go to Curse and I download it from there, and then I use something called what's it called? Mission Control, a separate little gizmo. I don't even remember where I got it. It was like over a year ago that I installed it, so I think it's somewhere you can find it in the add-on section in the forums. But it installs it for me. I guess I missed some pieces here. And basically you just take the compressed file that you download and you stick it into Mission Control. You just click and drag it over and then it installs it for you. Now I know there are some that use the actual Curse thing. I really couldn't say. No, I think you have to actually either install it through Mission Control or have the Curse client or something do it for you. I think a lot of people go through the Curse one because it automatically notifies them when there's updates. For me, I actually have to go to the Curse site and check it manually myself to see if there's anything that needs to be updated, which I don't do very regularly. Just, if I start noticing something bugging out, then I'll go and see if there's something new for it. I'm sorry I can't be any more specific than that. I'm pretty clueless on those things. That's why I tend to not use a lot of add-ons. But yeah, I use it's just called Mission Control. I'm not even sure where you get it. You could probably download it from Curse itself, but I would look it up in the official forums in the add-on section and ask about it there or find the thread about it. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to take a quick look. I don't see anything specifically saying Mission Control. I just know that that's what I've got, so. A lot of information for add-on writers, but apologies, I don't know much more about that. Because, like I said, I tend to not really mess with that if I can help it. I tend to make things go boom. Okay, so now we have our basic kind of garland set up. So then you want to add things like your pumpkins. We're just gonna pop. Let's put like maybe 3 of them. I only have 5, so we have to be kind of picky about where we use them and how we use them. So I'm gonna like show one thing, and then I'll probably have to remove some of it just to, you know, have some more pumpkins to play around with. Now you can keep them big, small, however you feel comfortable. I'm trying to find a good size that I like. I'm gonna go with that. So here we have a little pumpkin, and then we'll. Ugh, a little too close to. On the pumpkin. And I like to kind of give it you know, make sure you change it up a little bit so it's not exactly sitting the same way. And I'm going to change the size of this one as well. And say you want to use some different things. Let's see. We'll check out one of those trellises just to see how difficult it would be if you want to just use like one piece of fruit and you don't want the rest of it showing. In this instance, I think we can get away with maybe using either just this one, having it to the side, and having the fruit kind of go through there, and using the garland as kind of a way to hide the stick. It may require you adding in some extra grass just to make sure that it doesn't show where you don't want it. But then you at least get one kind of yellow fruit that's kind of there, sort of. Or you could turn it upside down and try and get. Now, see, these sticks here is gonna, so it's probably just gonna be this one here. So what you could do is flip it the other way. You might have a bit of green showing, but at least you get some different kinds of fruits. Pay attention that, well, if there's a fake carrot around, it's news to me. But pay attention that you have some bits hanging out here, so you may need to turn it to get it to change it up a little bit. I'm not going to pay too much attention to it, mostly just showing what's up here. Bringing it to the front. You could always add extra bits to your fireplace if you need to hide little bits that you don't want showing. But that's a good way to get some extra kinds of gourds and things like that. No, Johnny, it's not. You have to be level 14 to access housing, but it really doesn't take very long to get to level 14. If you just follow the quest line, even if you skip all the side stuff, if you just follow the main quest line, you'll eventually get to it. It's basically the time that you're introduced to the main capital city of your faction. That's when you're kind of introduced to housing, because they kind of coincide. It happens around the same level, because around 13, 14 is when you eventually make your way to the main city. And it's there that you'll be introduced to the housing initiative with the WildStar clones, and they will walk you through a little introductory quest, and then they give you your little plot, and it comes with like a little introductory package of little decor. I think you get like a bed, a rug, a tree, and a table, I think it is. And then you just go from there. Once you hit 14, some people kind of, like myself, kind of get stuck at 14 for a while, because, you know, it gets kind of addictive playing around with the decor. Okay, so that's another example of the way you can get different kinds of like gourds and pumpkins. Just don't want just pumpkin. Um, let's see. We saw those one plants. Let's see, that in the bushes. Whoops. Da, 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 da. Kind of expensive, but we'll grab a few. And just to throw in a little extra. No problem, John. I try to be as helpful as I can. I can't guarantee that I know the answers to all the questions, but if I do, I will give as much information as I can. Because, you know, that's part of the point of this little broadcast, to, you know, get people excited about getting back into the game and stuff if they've been away for a while, especially, but new players too. Okay, so this is just adding in some extra little color. Like I said, yellows, browns, oranges, even some of your reds would work nicely. If you have any other questions, you know, feel free to type up because they won't get answered unless you ask them. It even acts like another piece of fruit, so handy. Because I really don't want this stuff going. I just want the little bowl part. Since I already have these out here, just use the old-fashioned copy-paste. And again, I'm just kind of rotating them a little bit to give them a little bit of difference. You don't have to. If you like the kind of more repetitive look, that's fine as well. Notice I'm using this to kind of cover up that stick part that I didn't like before. Personally, I think it will. We're already seeing a pretty big influx of new players and returning players as it is with the coming of the free-to-play beta. There's a lot of people saying things are looking positive and they're feeling more confident about coming in now. And of course, with it free to play, a lot of people that weren't willing to shed some money for a subscription now have the opportunity to play a game that, you know, maybe they don't want to do that, you know, initial monetary investment, but now they can do that without that concern. As far as current populations, generally speaking, the PvE realms are the most populated as opposed to the PvP ones. There's been a lot of issues with PvP gameplay, and things that would, you know, encourage people to PvP. I don't PvP myself, so I really can't get into too much detail. I just know that the PvP community has been pretty unhappy up to this point. There are some changes incoming that could alleviate a lot of those concerns that they have. But that remains to be seen whether or not, because what happened was a lot of the PvP players that were on the PvP realms, they just kind of did a mass exodus over to the PvE realms because there just wasn't enough queuing and, you know, things to drive their economy on the AH and all kinds of things. So they migrated over to our servers, and it remains to be seen whether or not they're going to migrate back. There's been talk about it, but I don't know if that's actually going to happen. We'll just have to see once the changes are in place and how they kind of feel. In addition to the PvP versus PvE populations, then you have the faction populations. I think as a general rule, I could be wrong because I don't know any exact numbers. It's not something that Carbine shares with us explicitly, but just based on discussions in the forums, the Dominion side is less than the Exile side. So if you're looking to kind of help out the community in general, I would say roll Dominion. I know that's probably a no-no because I'm Exile myself, and of course we want more players on our side as well, but it would help, encourage people going over to that side because there are a lot of active guilds, raiding, casual, all sorts of, all rays of the spectrum there on both sides. But right now the tendency tends to be that there's more Exile as compared to Dominion. But both communities are good and healthy in the respect that, we have activities going on, community-driven events and things on both sides. It's just like if you compare Entity to Europe, I think a lot of people would probably say the NA servers are probably more populated than the EU ones. But you're always going to have a little bit of discrimination. There's no way to get it equal 50-50, so. But when people come saying, well, what faction should I roll? Number one, play what you want to play. It's like coming into a guild and saying, well, what class are we lacking? And that's what I'll roll. For me, it's always play what you enjoy. If you enjoy playing a healer, who cares if there's 50 healers in the guild? Play the healer, because you're not going to enjoy, you're not going to be willing to stay the long haul if you're really not willing to give your character or whatever your full-on attention. If you really can't stand playing healer but you're doing it just for the good of the guild, that can wear on you pretty fast. So play what you like, and that goes faction-wise, race-wise, class-wise, whatever. But if you're just intent on, trying to be community friendly, I would say roll Dominion. They really could use the extra boost. But yeah, I think the free-to-play will definitely have a pretty big impact on that. We may see like a really huge influx once it goes live, and then we'll have those that are just there for a few months and then they'll leave, but it'll mellow out. And I think that's true for any game, though. It's the same way with when World of Warcraft does a new expansion, you'll have this big influx of people, and then they'll just kind of trickle off because they'll go, oh well, it's not as exciting as I thought, or whatever, whatever reason it is. And then you kind of have it kind of level out a little better. And but I think overall things are looking up. That's my opinion, of course. There's a lot of changes coming, and from my perspective, most are positive. I really haven't seen anything that I just, have to put my foot down and say, well, that's going to cause me to leave. That's nothing of that sort, for me anyway. There are a few that I feel a little bit more polar on that, but it's like with the housing. We're currently looking at some of the changes that are coming, which includes larger plot sizes, and there is a considerable amount of wailing and gnashing of teeth about that. From my perspective, I think anything that is bigger, more of, that's a good thing. But for those that have builds currently in live, it will affect how those builds look when the transition happens, because the position of the teleporter changes. So, if you have a special setup for that, then you're going to have to move it. And that can be a little stressful. So, yeah, it's definitely a good opportunity. If you haven't already, I would strongly suggest you visit the link on my Twitch page. It's in the resources section. It's a link to their news article about the free-to-play closed beta. They're currently offering keys to some individuals that apply, and you very well could get in and be able to kind of see for yourself a lot of the changes, because they've changed not only the stats for gear, but they've changed like how you even come into the game. In the beginning, it was like you just kind of get plopped into it, and a lot of it was not very intuitive, especially for new players that had never experienced MMOs before, or just even WildStar in general. Like a lot of the combat, how it works and stuff. And a lot of people felt lost and kind of confused in the beginning, and they've revamped that entire system. And I think there's been nothing but positive feedback on the changes they've made there. So that's a big thing that a lot of folks will appreciate. Plus, with the free-to-play comes with, of course, the cash shop, which a lot of people feel pretty got extremes to both ends. Some hate it, some love it, and there's a lot of people that's kind of in between. I'm kind of on the in between, because there are some things I wish wasn't on there, because I just want the opportunity to get everything, but I understand the reason behind it. And I accept that there will be certain things that I won't get a hold of. Well, apologies, Fear. I'm not very good at multitasking, so just trying to give some explanation. Yeah, that's one option too, John. But definitely, if you want to, just check it out first before you make a purchase, I would say sign up for the closed beta. See if you can get in. Okay, so we've got little bits of different fruits and grasses and pumpkins. That's one way to do your garland if you want. There's other things you could probably add. Maybe some types of flowers that you want. But I think we'll call that one okay. That's a good example for a garland. Another thing you could try is like a pumpkin topiary. And if you're not familiar with what a topiary is, usually it's a bush that you shape into a certain, like maybe it looks like a rooster or a chair or a teddy bear, whatever. But there's other types of topiaries, and basically it's just a combination of items to make something different. So let's see. We're going to take the Malvolio bust, just because I like the bottom of it more. I'm going to turn him upside down. Now you could use a vase, a bowl, whatever suits your fancy or what you have on hand. That's how a lot of my stuff is done. It's just what I have handy. Then you put some kind of greenery. You could go with strict green. You could go with the browns and yellows. I'm going to go with, let's see, what kind of bushes do we have handy? Probably the best one would be the brambles. Not this one. There's another one that's a little more flat and not as curly-cuey as this one. But I'm going to try the moss bush. Gonna see if this looks all right. Again, a lot of this is experimenting. You might not get the right combination, or you might have things sticking out where you don't want them to stick out, and you just kind of figure out what works. So we'll grab another pumpkin. And we'll just, whoops, pop it right down there. Yeah, they look pretty in need of some water, don't they? Now again, these are a little awkward because of the little bit sticking out there. But I'm going to be looking at it just from the front, because this would be a good thing to put like on either side of your doorways or entranceways. You know, if you have a porch, that would be good. And then you don't have to worry about that little root thing necessarily. Trying to straighten this little bugger up. The clone does not like sizes. Now you see I made it a little smaller, and I'm going to do the same with the pumpkin. Now I'm probably going to have to steal some pumpkins from over there because, like I said, I only have the 5 to play around with. So. And the size of the pumpkin, I'm going by what's the size of the grass. Feels about right. And then I'm going to do one more layer of grass. Remember, this is just a really quick example. You would probably use other pieces, you know, whatever's handy, what colors you like. We're just going to copy. And then you end it with little pumpkin on top. That's essentially what a pumpkin topiary is. Just a stacked display pumpkins and grass. This particular grass that I used, the moss bush, it's a little bit more shaped. You could use, I think it's the aloe. The green fern would work nicely, probably. Desert bush, not so much because of this part sticking up. You might be able to get away with using it for the ones on the bottom. Most of the stalks up at the top would be hidden inside, but unless you just want to top that one with like some kind of weird tentacle bits up top. But these probably not so much, unless you just have decor to spend and you want to use a bunch of them to make a little bit. But I think it would be better for like the green fern, some of the other brambles would work nicely too, because you kind of want something that's flat but has a lot of width to it, so that you can get away with just using one per level. So there's that. Again, this, you'd have to kind of work around that. If you've got it up against the wall or something that's behind it, that would work nicer than having it straight out by itself. Another thing you could do is drag one of these over here. Just make a pumpkin flower pot, and by that, you know, just tuck in flowers. Use this like a vase or a bowl, and put in different flowers. We got some plants here. Again, you want to stick with colors that tend to be fall, because I mean that's what we're aiming for, is fall decorations. So using the yellow daisies would be good. You could go with these. These are a little bit more expensive. They're 300 renown, so it just depends on what you have available to you. You could probably add a few mushrooms in, although I would wish they were different colors. Don't have a lot of different kinds of plants that are, oops. Let's try grasses. Apparently don't have any in the great. Let's try the tall auger up grass. I think that'll work all right. Put a couple of those in. Since we already used quite a bit of the golden. Could go with some of this. It's got the yellow and the red. Just grab a few of those as well. So usually what I do when I'm trying to do a flower arrangement, I kind of go with like the tall stuff in the middle and then surround it with the shorter bits. If that makes sense. I don't know if that's really how a florist actually does that, but that's how I do it, and it tends to work for me. Not always, but and let's see. A lot of it's just eyeballing. That's the wrong thing there, I think. Practice, and a lot of times you could just Google up pictures of, you know, plant arrangements, and that will give you ideas of what you could do with yours. Some people do have, you know, trouble with coming up with little ideas like this and making it feel like it came that way. I'm not saying that these actually do look like they come this way, but the idea is just to try and come up with different little decorations that you can add to your home so that it'll feel more seasonal. a lot of the like plants, the ones that are already in vases and things, are pretty pastel-y and pink and green, and when you walk in, it just looks hyper orange. And I know my characters are orange, and I should be happy about that, but it's good to have a little variety. And if you use the same pieces in a way that kind of makes them look different, it's just I don't know, that's part of the fun for me. And pay attention to the way that you're looking at it, and you're wanting your visitor to see it, and then just adjust the pieces as you need to. So I think that's good enough for that. We don't need all these other. So that's a pumpkin vase, a flower vase. Again, I'm sticking with colors that I feel are more fall oriented, so I'm sticking with yellows and browns and reds and oranges. Other things you could probably come up with is if you want, instead of a wreath on the door, sometimes they have that little like witch's broom, the little broom. Usually I go with the mop handle, and then I put some grass on the end. But it's never quite looked the way I wanted it to, so maybe someone else can come up with some other things. Pitchforks, lots of pumpkins. If you have the opportunity to get lots of pumpkins, pumpkin piles, maybe just a little pumpkin group in the center of your table, a few lining the stairway up to your front door, things like that. You could also do pumpkin candle holders. Let's just drag another one off of here. Say you have a little table and you're wanting to kind of give it a little extra something, just grab a candle. I like the medium one. The tall ones are all right. Short one's a little bit more frumpy, but medium usually works pretty good. And just stick the candle in the pumpkin, and then you have a pumpkin candle holder. How simple is that? And then you could just line your driveway, the little pathway or something. You might turn it so that candle's a little bit more hiding the stem there, but how simple, just a combination of two items and you're done. Like I said, you could use the different candles if you want, but the medium one seems to work the best for a lot of things. But that could be also a centerpiece, line 3 little pumpkins in the center of your table, insert the little candles, and then you got a nice little decoration for your feast table or whatever. Again, lining your walkway, or just on a few of the steps of your porch area. Maybe you want to give some holiday decoration to your bathroom. That would be a good way to light up your tub area and stuff like that. I know there's a lot of corn husk type of decor. I couldn't think of a good way to bake in something that looks like a ear of corn. Maybe someone else can come up with some clever ideas for that, but The only other thing that I could think of that we might want to try is a cornucopia. If you don't know what that is, it's that little, it's usually like a weaved basket looking thing that's kind of in the shape of a horn, and usually there's like fruits coming out of it, or just a lot of pumpkins or something. You could go either way, or you could, have other stuff. But I thought we could try and kind of make a cornucopia. So first we're going to grab ourselves a table. This one will work. And we're just going to see, I was trying to think about how I would approach it if I was, definitely wanting to make one. And the first thing that comes to my mind is the domes. And I really want the exile one. And for the main part, I think the hollow one will work best. Back up here so I can place it without it going error. Because it's the closest that I could think of for like the wicker looking kind of construction that cornucopias usually come in. I'm sure they come in other materials, but typically you see it and it looks like a little wicker woven basket thing in the shape of a horn. Now the reason I'm using just a hollow dome instead of a hollow tube, you could use the tube, but I figured the dome would be enough because the idea is you're going to be filling it, because the cornucopia is supposed to represent like plentiful, the harvest kind of thing. And there's really no need for the whole thing to be hollowed out, because you're going to be piling it full, so you just kind of want that representation that it's got some depth into it, but you're going to be hiding most of it. So we're going to pop that there. It's probably pretty big. Let's knock it down a little bit more. There we go. And then basically it's just taking more domes and just sizing them down gradually to try and simulate how the cornucopia looks. Like I said, it's usually kind of in the shape of a horn thing. And yeah, it's just sometimes some of them get a little fancy and they'll like curl funny, but we're gonna try this, see if it works. Could be an experiment gone bad. Now again, this is probably a good opportunity for Katya's little difference in average things, but just for the purpose of being quick and dirty, I'm just going to wing it, as I tend to do. Now I'm not going to be able to get too small on the ends. I may have to change how I've got this set up, just because of the way the limits on the scaling. I have a fear that because of the change of the size, you're not going to see the little rib like you would expect. keep having to back off because it clones it in full size and then resizes it. So if you're too close, then thinks you don't belong there. And it'll give you an error. That's why I keep moving, for those wondering. So basically, I'm just trying to get a kind of a shape going. Probably not perfect. In the wrong one. That might be too steep of a change. It's gonna be a really big horn. Oops, a little too close, I guess. Probably really needs to be laying down a little more, but we'll just go with it. Okay, back up. You'll get the idea. And you'll see I'm using quite a few pieces. You probably don't have to get this down to the itty gritty as far as the size goes. I just happen to be seeing just how far I can stretch it. Gives a good representation of the segments, though. I like that. You know, for someone that wants to, you know, fashion some kind of armor or something, this would be a good way of doing, you know, the arms and things like that. I think coming up on the last few bits. I mean, in theory, I could probably go all the way down to 0.01, but it's a little ridiculous at a certain. Off, clone. we go. There's kind of a cornucopia thing. It's probably should be laying down a little more, but that you can adjust. It'll take some time to adjust it, of course, but you get that kind of horn shape. You could, if you wanted, just use an already existing horn piece from a decor, maybe. The problem is it won't be, in my opinion, the right color. Cornucopias usually are, like I said, a wicker type of material, so the brown really plays through better on that. And then just fill it with, if you want to fill it with lots of pumpkins, you could do that. Let's grab one of these pumpkin groups. Don't know how big they come in. We'll just shrink them babies down. Maybe even more. And basically with the cornucopia, if you're going to use it like as a centerpiece for your table, your little feast table or something, it's supposed to be not only full but overflowing. So you're going to have like a lot of little bits out here. So just the more that you can kind of layer in, the more it'll look believable as an overflowing horn of plenty. So let's see. Try another pumpkin here. This way. Squeeze him in there. Let's. Oops. Oh wait, no, 1A. We'll just tuck him inside. So, again, be watchful of what's showing out here. That might not be something you want showing. I'm not going to worry about it because I'm looking at it from the side, so it looks okay. Berries, bananas, things that you want to make look like tomatoes. Those would probably work. Anything that is a good food piece. Even cheese would probably work too if you really are desperate for other kinds of items. But I think the different hanging fruits will be pretty good in helping to fill up a lot of the space that you want. Again, you'd want to check and see what's showing out here because obviously you don't want that going on. So just tweak it, size it, however you need to do to kind of get it in there like you need to. Something like that. Just going to kind of quickly slap that in there. The other fruit. Use that as well. bananas, like I said. A lot of the foods. Get a couple of those. The nice yellow color for the fall. That's a little big, giant banana. And like I said, curve it, tuck it in, lift it up, do whatever you got to kind of get it to fit in like you want, so that it's, you know, not like that. Add a bit of color. There's a good start for a cornucopia. You could add more of the fruits if you want. Like I said, you could add cheese wedges. I don't know about the intestines, that might be kind of nasty, but or the grain sacks, I don't think those would be good. Maybe the tops of red stools to make it look like little tomatoes if you want. We don't really have too many red, roundish type of things. We have apples, but those come in the carts, so that won't work well. But you know, you could probably sneak in some Tua pillows, just peek out the little corners or something to kind of represent some little red bits of fruit or something. That would probably add a good amount of color as well. You could throw in some flowers if you wanted to kind of just fluff it up a little bit. But that's our cornucopia. Kind of not ideal, but poor banana is like got that huge thing sticking out there. But that gives you a good start for something if you want to try a little project like that. Just give your home some extra decoration. Would be one way to go about it. So I hope that's given you all some food for thought. Play on the pun there. For different kinds of fall decorations that you might consider adding to your home. You know, it doesn't mean you have to go all out and just lay decorations down in every room. If you just want to just kind of give your dinner table a little bit of a little pop, you know, a nice centerpiece of different types would be, you know, nice touch. Or just something for your door if you want to hang a wreath or drape a garland around it. You could do the loopy ones if you want, or just some kind of little plant display kind of thing just going on. Put a couple of them to either side of your door, something like that. Just little touches. Doesn't have to be everywhere. Doesn't have to be big and grand. Just little details like that can really add a lot of homeliness to your home. So I hope you've enjoyed brainstorming with me, trying to figure out what pieces we could use. Like I said, for fall, I would stick with yellows, oranges, browns, and reds. You could probably get other colors in there, and you may have to out of necessity, like for the wreath that we showed earlier. But if you stick with these particular colors, that will really help play on the fall theme. Doesn't mean that you can't make them in other colors, because we have other seasons coming up, but this will give you a good start if you're looking for some extra decoration for your plot. Okay, so I think that's it for today. Let's see. Tomorrow, I think we're going to revisit the PTR. It'll probably be just a recap of some of the things we've seen before, but I'm also going to busily be hunting up some plots on the PTR that we can maybe tour around, specifically those that have been playing with some of the new items and experimenting with different ways that they can use them in clever builds. I know there's a few out there. It just may be kind of fun trying to find them. If nothing else, we'll do another tour of maybe some NA homes that we don't normally have access to and just kind of take a peek at what they've been doing. But that'll be for tomorrow. Then come Monday next week, we'll probably be diving in again to some little side project of this nature. I may go ahead and do some tours of the CBDC entries for my guild for this month, since tomorrow is the deadline. Hopefully anyone else that's going to participate in it will have their entry submitted by then. If not, it may just be me, which is kind of sad, but it being summer and a lot of people on vacation still, it's to be expected that a lot of guild activities and such kind of slow down around the time. Anyway, then of course, once next week is done, we will be looking into getting started on a new CBDC build. So we'll be talking about what kind of theme that will be and what project we might start with that. I'm not really looking into doing any big full plot build right now, because I'm kind of hesitant to really get into that until maybe we're given a firm date as to when the free-to-play is going to land in live, because I feel like with some of the things going on currently, I probably will only get like maybe a couple weeks, and while I could probably do that in that amount of time, I don't really want to feel too pressured in that, so I may just leave it be for a while. But we'll find some other things to do like this to kind of tide us over until the next big project. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Appreciate the follows and the comments and the interaction. And I hope, John, if you're still around, that you look into, if not buying the game on a leap of faith, then at least try and get in on the free-to-play beta. Get your feet wet that way. That's probably the safest way. That would be the way I would do it if I was just now coming into the scene myself. So. Good things. For those that are interested in trying for the PTR closed beta, definitely check out my Twitch channel page. There in the resources section, there is a link to the news article that Carbine put out that provides all the information as to what that entails, gives links to the PTR forums, the PTR sign up, and a fact page that gives you all the itty-gritty bits and goodies that you might wonder about. As well, another reminder, I know I probably sound like a broken record, but really important that we get the word out. We've got just about a week, I think, left. Well, 2 weeks maybe, yeah. You have until September 4th to submit your entry to the Geeks of Nexus housing contest. That's for Jabbit EU realms. It's open for both Exile and Dominion factions, so it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. If you have a home that you feel is worth a second look, please do submit your entry today. The sooner the better, because you don't want to miss out on this. There's lots of plat up for grabs, and little community effort of getting things hyped up. Any of that kind of stuff is a good thing. So the more people to participate, the better. So yeah, get those entries in, and good luck with your homes, even if you aren't entering them into the contest. I wish you much luck on your projects. and we'll see you tomorrow maybe. Bye bye.